Man, that movie was totally lame.
I told you, Mitch. I said it was a PG-13 horror film, so it was going to suck, but oh no! You had to go see it.
Well, I thought we should at least give it a chance. It had an interesting premise.
It's called The Bye-Bye Man. What about that sounds remotely interesting?
Derek! Mitchell! Help! 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 Help!
Beakley, what's wrong?
Papa! Come over the house! He read book! I tell him not read book. He read book anyway! Now he act funny!
He read a book, so now he's acting funny.
Oh no, Beakley, what book did he read? Did he read that book I told you not to read?
Yeah, but Beakley not read it. Beakley tell him no read book. No. But he read anyway. He got way.
Oh crap. Beakley, where's Dad?
He in room where we got all the books.
Oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap.
What is going on?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Dad found a book that I was trying to hide. He read a passage he shouldn't have, and now the forces of darkness have turned him into a hideous ghoul, hell-bent on consuming flesh.
There's a book that can do that.
Yes. The Ancient Book of McGuffin. Carne. Dear God. Mitchell, distract him while I get the book.
Okay, where the hell did you get a book that could turn our dad into a zombie?
It's a long and interesting story that would explain a lot, and therefore it can't be explained because of budgetary, time restraints, and that downright laziness on my part for not writing a backstory.
Okay.
It's an Ancient Book of McGuffin.
Okay, well, does it tell you how to turn him back? I don't know about you, but I don't think a flesh-eating zombie is going to go well over Christmas dinner.
Okay, this must have been what he was reading. Carne. Mitch, I think I found a loophole. I need to cook something.
How come all of your problems are always solved by cooking?
Because I'm a fat man with an Ancient Book of McGuffin!
Fair enough. Okay, what do we have to do?
Okay, if I can cook this, then I should be able to save Dad. Could you take care of my other duties for me?
You mean you want me to review a movie?
Yes. But before we get into any of that... Hey y'all, I'm Derek.
And I'm Mitchell.
And welcome to Bad Movie Friday Night. And tonight, we're going to be looking at a movie by someone you probably never heard of, but have probably seen his work before. Dan O'Bannon. Dan O'Bannon began his career with a low-budget film he wrote and edited in college called Dark Star. His work on that picture soon led to him being attached to the most famous movie never made, Alejandro Jodorowsky's version of Frank Herbert's Dune. After literally moving into Jodorowsky's house and collaborating for 5 years on the project, the film was never greenlit, and O'Bannon found himself broken homeless.
Soon, however, while living with his friend Ronald Shizit, he developed the story and the script for a sci-fi thriller that would soon be picked up by Ridley Scott and become one of the most beloved horror films of all time. The film, titled Alien, soon led to steady work for O'Bannon as a writer. But his true passion was to direct, and he finally got the chance to fulfill his dream in 1985 with a project he wrote that was a satirical sequel to the original Night of the Living Dead. And that's the movie we're going to look at today. It's called The Return of the Living Dead. And so, while Derek is busy and Beakley is watching guard to make sure Dad doesn't go fully Romero on us,
Month to come, month to go. Beakley not let through the door. Up, 2, 3, 4. Up, 2, 3, 4. Boom.
I'm going to be looking at the movie and pointing out all the funny bits.
And because of the loophole in the spell our dad read, I'm making Carne Asada fries to go along with tonight's movie. Right now, I'm just making a marinade of orange juice, lime juice, garlic powder, cumin, chili powder, salt, and pepper. After it's all mixed together, I'm going to put in some flank steak and just let it sit for about 20 minutes.
Wait, if you got an extra 20 minutes, why aren't you watching the movie?
Because there's a bunch of rites and ceremonies I have to do to make sure this goes off all right. Don't worry, I'll be in and out of the review. You'll be fine.
Okay, Mr. Pizza. We got a job to do. We must keep Papa from getting out of door. Are you with me? Are you with me? Come on, Mr. Pizza. Are you with me? That's my man, Mr. Pizza. Come on, we go to work. We do the job. We do the job.
Well, let's get started. Our film begins with... Yeah, sure. Tom Matthews is a real person. I'll believe that when I see it. And then it opens on the film proper, where we meet our leads, Freddie and Frank, who work in a medical supply warehouse. As the boss, Bert, goes home, Frank teaches Freddie the ins and outs of the business. Cut to a quick scene of Freddie's friends trying to find a party to go to, where they decide to go pick up Freddie from work. And then back to the warehouse, where Frank starts explaining that Night of the Living Dead was based off real events, and he has proof.
Well, they closed it all down, see? And the army shipped all that contaminated dirt and all those dead bodies out. And they kept it a secret.
This guy's not really subtle, is he?
Really? That's the best you got?
Well, what would you say?
How about something like, this acting is so camp you can toast marshmallows on it?
That's pretty good. The acting is so camp.
Too late!
Anyways, Frank shows Freddie the corpse in the basement, and after boasting how unbreakable the canisters are, he proceeds to break a canister, which leads to the title credits. Now, this is actually a very effective sequence. The visuals and music mesh well and create an air of immediate tension, showing how the epidemic to come actually starts. I especially enjoy the end sequence, starting with a wide pan and slowly pulling in closer as the cadaver begins waking up. Man, that's a lot already covered, and we haven't even gotten that far yet. Derek, what are you doing?
I'm glad you asked, Mitch. So I'm searing off my steak in a hot cast iron pan with a little bit of canola oil for about 3 minutes on each side. Then I'm going to take it out and let it rest before I cut it. And while that goes on, I have to perform the rite of Krulok and the invocation of Siddhartha.
And what does that entail?
You really don't want to know. Let's just say I'm going to have to restock on mayonnaise after this.
Well, no, that's an image that will be permanently burnt into my brain. So, an army general pulls up to his house, and we learn he's in charge of finding out where the canisters have gone. Now, knowing what I know about the military, this should be rather easy. Someone at some point must assign a receipt for something, but then we wouldn't have this plot point that we can all enjoy together, now would we? And then, a quick cut back to Freddy's friends, who decide to wait for Freddy to get off work in a nearby cemetery. Freddy and Frank wake up and realize all is not right in the shop, especially when they run into a dissected dog trying to move around. They call Bert, and then we're back in the graveyard, where the redhead girl starts talking about death.
Way would be for a bunch of old men to get around me and start biting and eating me alive.
I see.
First, they would tear off my clothes.
Mitch, do you know where I can find a balloon at this time?
Taking off her clothes again.
Mitch? You're useless sometimes!
So, Bert shows up and they try to kill the reanimated corpse in the freezer, thinking it's just like in the movie, but soon find out that that was not quite right. So, Bert decides to see if his old friend Ed at the crematory in the cemetery might help them get rid of the body. I know my best friend works in a crematory in a cemetery, so hopefully this will work out for them. They burn the body, And that starts a chain reaction of poison rain hitting the graves and reanimating the dead.
You're doing great, Mitch. Keep it up. Okay, so while all that was going on, I started frying my fries. All I'm going to do is fry them until they're crisp, golden, and brown, and then I'm going to take them out and sprinkle them with salt and paprika, and then let them dry. And while that's going on, I have to do the invocation of Glendathu.
And what does that entail?
Well, my ancient Enochian's a bit rusty, but if I'm reading this properly, it's basically doing a dance that resembles an octopus doing the hokey pokey.
Well, have fun with that. Okay, so Freddy and Frank soon act really sick, so Bert calls the paramedics to come get them. To get out of the rain, Freddy's friends run to the medical supply warehouse, where one of them goes into the basement and runs into... probably one of the most famous zombies in all of film history. So, she tries to escape, ends up falling through the stairs, and her friends come to save her. They all escape the basement and decide to make a run for the crematory in the cemetery, but get split up because of a zombie attack. The paramedics come to help Freddy and Frank, only to declare them dead on the scene, and to call for another opinion. That ends well.
Come in dispatch. Send more paramedics.
So, Freddy's friends make it to the crematory, and as more and more people die, they decide enough is enough. And Bert goes back to the warehouse to call the army to clean up this mess. Yeah, now that everyone's dead, good job. Well, Frank decides to kill himself before he goes full Romero. And Freddy goes full Romero and tries to eat his girlfriend's brains. Hey Derek, we're getting to the end. How's it going?
So, I put the fries back in the skillet I cooked the steak in. Then on top of that, I put the steak and covered that with cheddar and pepper jack cheese. Now, I'm just putting it in the oven at 375 just until the cheese melts. And now, I gotta perform the final act of Kondar.
Well, Bert calls the army and the general from the beginning of the movie says he'll take care of it. Meanwhile, the zombies are pushing their way into the crematory, and Freddy jumps up in the attic trying to get his girlfriend's brains. Then we find out how the army decides to take care of the matter. They nuke the town. Wait, that's the end?
Well, yeah. Dan O'Bannon took a lot of his writing style from classic 1950s writing styles. So, in that aspect, it makes sense. Well, the fries are done now, so we're just going to keep them in the skillet that we cooked them in and serve them with some guacamole and sour cream. So, final thoughts on the film?
Oh, you're asking me?
Well, it is part of the job.
Well, this movie is okay?
You can do better than that.
Well, this movie's a lot of fun. The acting is anything but subtle, and I didn't really mind. This kind of movie's not something I would usually watch, but I did enjoy this film. It's funny, original, and kinda hard to forget. Okay, is that good?
Good enough. Anyways, I love this film. The pacing is good, the characters are campy, and although it's a little less than 90 minutes long, it does not feel rushed. Each character feels well-rounded. The comic timing is exact. The practical effects are interesting and attractive to the eye. Not to mention, the soundtrack is awesome. It's a mix of 80s punk that really adds to the tongue-in-cheek tone of the film. All in all, if you haven't seen this film, remedy that situation. So gather up your friends, make some really good food, and enjoy this classic zombie movie. Alright, I gotta go save my dad. Beakley, step away from the door.
Okay, Mr. Pizza. You back up Derek. I have done my job. Now I'm going to get out of here.
The power of fries compels you. The power of fries compels you. The power of fries compels you.
Derek, I am never coming back to your house again.
Well, now that that's over, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for tuning in. And come back next week when Bad Movie Friday Night continues.
Yeah.